Hi everybody, so we're back to make bath salts with Epsom salts. I'm going to use, these are the Epsom salts, as I showed you a big container earlier on. So Epsom salts are available in pharmacies. I can't guarantee that you get a 4 kilo one like I have there, but they certainly do have larger sizes of them. So the reason why I have a bigger thing isn't because I soak in the bath every single evening of the week. I just find when I'm treating people one-to-one, say I'm working on somebody's back or they've got sore legs, or yeah, they just could do with the benefit of a bath. It would be maybe something that I would recommend after they've had a treatment. And what I find is that if you recommend for somebody to have something like Epsom salts bath, they might not necessarily have them at home. And by the time they get around to finding them, particularly maybe if I see somebody in the evening, there isn't somewhere that they can go and buy them. And Epsom salts are full of magnesium and sulfate, and particularly the magnesium is great for muscles that are sore or tightened up due to overwork or pain or whatever. So I would have usually have just a little jar with a lid mixed up with Epsom salts, bath salts in it. And if I recommend for somebody it would be a good idea for them to have a bath, I would give them the jar and say, now you've no excuse. So there you go. So these are Epsom salts here. Epsom salts come from a place in England called Epsom. So I'm going to use those in it. I'm going to use Dead Sea salt. And again, I buy that in a big container. So Dead Sea salt, a Dead Sea salt and the Himalayan salt that I'll be using for one of the other recipes, these are not food grade ones, okay? So you can use food grade ones if you want. They tend to be a little bit more expensive because obviously they're for ingestion. These are don't go through such the rigorous same amount of testing. Okay, the other thing I'm going to use is bread soda. Bread soda is detoxifying, very alkalising for our skin, and it's actually really, really softening. So even if you had a bath with each of these individually in your bath, a small handful of each of them by themselves, you're doing a benefit for you. But it's nice if you can bring them all together. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mix it up here in just this regular bowl. I use these cups. I find them great because I've had them for years and they can fall on the floor and nobody break them. Somebody bought me a lovely set of ceramic ones, actually, a client of mine. And I use a chopstick for stirring stuff together. I find them great. Okay, so what I'm going to do is 1 cup of the Epsom salt into that bowl. And you don't have to be too fixed on it. I mean, it was a cup, but I'm not like, it's not totally and utterly even. So 1/4 cup of the sea salt into the bowl, and a 1/4 cup of the bread soda. A little bit more than I intended. So bread soda, baking soda, bicarbonate of soda, all the same thing. So all go in there. So just using your chopstick or a spoon or a fork, just mixing them up so they combine together. And then to this, I'm going to add, I'm just going to put lavender into this one. Lavender is quite relaxing for most people. The thing about lavender you've got to be mindful of is that you don't use too much of it. Sometimes the bread soda is a bit clumpy. So you can see I've mixed it up there, so you can't really tell one from the other. The Epsom salts are a wee bit bigger. The sea salt is that little bit more finer ground, and then the bread soda is very fine. So they're all mixed together in there. So then I'm going to add about 8 drops of lavender. So that's my lavender there. So the thing about lavender, sorry, I was going to say is my eldest son used to suffer. What did I say the other day about not counting and talking at the same time? So that's about, I think that was 9 to 10 drops. And then just stirring those in together. So if you leave it for a little bit of time and you put it into a jar with the lid, they'll keep for ages because the salt is a preservative. What the smell of that. So you can imagine that when you keep that in a jar with a lid on, you probably actually could do with probably 4 or 5 drops, and it'll get stronger in smell. Like, not completely overpowering, but it certainly, the longer the lid is kept on, the more powerful the smell will become. So going back to lavender, is one of the things about lavender is people associate it with calming and easing anxiety, and it most certainly does that. I love the smell of lavender plant. I have some growing outside the house. I love to rub the flowers of it on my hands, you know, 1 or 2 of them like that, and go, and the smell is just divine. I'm not a mad user of lavender as an essential oil, only because I don't know, I'm not 100% sure, but I think maybe because it's, for me, it's in an awful lot of things, and it's been overused, and sometimes it's quite a synthetic version, so it can be a bit, I don't know, overwhelming, overpowering, and a bit nauseating. But the thing about lavender is less is more. Then if you overuse lavender, if you use too many drops of it, thinking that you're going to calm yourself or somebody else down even more, but actually it negates it. It actually can be quite a stimulant. So always use less than more of lavender. My son used to have night terrors, and I did an awful lot of reading up and research, because the only answer that I could find for it with Western medicine was to put him on antipsychotics at age 7, which we didn't do. So I had done a huge amount, and I was actually mad using lavender and like that, thinking I was doing a great job altogether if I used 6 drops, but I possibly wasn't really helping things. I probably wasn't making it any worse, but I certainly wasn't helping it by using more. But the one thing is about lavender, it is great for skin. And I used to work in kitchens years ago. This would be something that I would put neat onto skin for burns, and I have seen it work a dream. We have it always here in the kitchen. Somebody burnt their hand there recently and put it on, like, within, I think maybe probably about a couple of hours. Now, not if it's a 2nd or a 3rd degree, but if it's the superficial, like a 1st degree burn. If you put it on, you know, within a time frame that the person is going to allow you to put it on. So we had somebody burn their hand on, I don't know, they were cooking something, and so when they had calmed down, we ran water over it first, probably half an hour, maybe an hour afterwards, and we put neat lavender on it, and it was gone the next day. It had really helped to heal it. So I would most certainly use it that way. I use it in my face serum all the time. I know there are people who really, really love lavender, but it wouldn't be my go-to oil. I wouldn't really tend to diffuse it, and it wouldn't be my one that I'd use for calming. So in terms of the way that I have been trained in Chinese medicine, they would say sometimes that you don't just, you know, not suppress isn't quite the way, but you don't necessarily calm somebody down. You can elevate their mood, and that does the same thing. So I'd be a person that would be more inclined to go for a citrus, like an orange or a lemon, grapefruit, lemongrass, any of those, and that elevates somebody's mood, and that helps to calm them down, and it helps to balance and regulate the nervous system. It's just a different way of going at the same thing. So I'm not anti-lavender. I think it's an amazing oil, and it has great properties. It's just not the way that I would choose to use it. So, bath salts. There we have lavender bath salts. So if you want to give it a go, Epsom salts are readily available. Dead sea salt, maybe you will find it easily enough, but definitely you'll find bread soda. So yeah, not hard to find, not hard to mix up, not hard to do. Just use an old jar, put a lid on it, Bob's your uncle. Just use a nice handful of it, and enjoy your bath. And see you later.